this was a good pick. We're going to talk about Star Trek V,
the Final Frontier. We were also going to talk about. We were talking about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So it's another summer of '89 release.
Okay.
It came out after Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, but before Batman. So it was like nestled right in there.
Yeah, this is like the first movie I remember seeing like a trailer for it in the theater and being, and like taking note and being kind of surprised, like, whoa, they're doing another Star Trek movie. It was kind of, because Star Trek 4 kind of felt like it kind of, rounded things off in a nice way. Learning that, oh no, there's a new Star Trek movie. And it looked like a lot of fun. The trailer looked like a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
It had that sequence where he's climbing up El Capitan and then...
Free Solo?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Wouldn't it have been hilarious in the... remember the Free Solo documentary from a few years ago? Mm-hmm. I can't remember the guy's name, but Alex Honnold, he's like asking William Shatner for free rock climbing tips. He's like...
and you have Spock with those like flying boots. That was in the trailer too.
It's so iconic.
And then DeForest Kelly, Bones, is wearing Mr. Furley's old wardrobe. They like just canceled Three's Company.
They raided the wardrobe department.
And he's like, I'll bet you, he goes up to Spock and Kirk and he's like, I'll bet you kids were wondering why I'm all spiffed up.
He's like, his lambskin collar.
He's like looking in the mirror and he's like, I better stop looking because if I look in here anymore, I might fall in love.
He's like, well, they're camping out. He's like, I better not get any dirt on my new jacket. He doesn't want to get any dirt on his new duds.
Yeah, the plot, they might have taken like an old Three's Company script because I know there'd occasionally be like a camping episode. Jack Tripper falling out of a hammock and stuff.
He's like, he shows him with a little camp mirror. He's like fixing up his ascot. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna sport that look. It's the lamb's wool collar and the ass. Why does he have an ascot in the forests of Yosemite?
Now, I love they're being very budget conscious, and this is always like a smart thing they do in Star Trek shows and movies, where it's like you can go to a national park. You try to find a place that maybe hasn't changed at all since now and the year or whatever. Then. So that's kind of smart, save money, and then the special effect for Leonard Nimoy flying is pretty cheap too, because you don't see his feet at all. You just see him, and he's kind of doing this. Yeah, he's kind of popping. Look at this great green screen. This is like a year before CGI replaces all this stuff.
Look at that stuff. Yeah. They're definitely on a set there. It feels like those trees up close. Yeah, William Shatner. I go to Yosemite wearing his outfit. They say that the odd Star Trek movies are the bad ones.
Right. Those were the ones I saw in the theater because I didn't see Wrath of Khan. I saw the first Star Trek movie I saw in the theater was Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock, and I loved it.
Oh, me too.
And then I skipped Star Trek 4 for some reason, and then Star Trek 5 I saw. So it's like I was seeing all the odd ones.
Like the first...
and of course loving them.
Me too.
That was something I learned about late, and I guess they sort of invented later. It was probably after Star Trek 6 or maybe Star Trek 7 that they were like, a clear pattern was established because 6 was one of the better ones.
Yeah,
too.
The Undiscovered Countries. The first Star Trek movie I saw was Search for Spock on television.
Okay.
And then the first Star Trek...
Christopher Walken as the Klingon.
It's so good.
Or not Christopher Walken, Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher
Lloyd,
yeah. And then I would...
Christopher Walken would be a great... Klingon. Was he ever a Klingon?
I don't know.
He
Chris Lloyd. And then the Undiscovered Country was one that I would see trailers for. That was the first movie I was like, new Star Trek movie.
Yeah, that would be this was for me. And so I was excited for it, and I mean it's Shatner's baby, which we can talk about. It was kind of like hey, you let Leonard Nimoy direct 2 of them. When's it my turn?
Yeah,
You know?
he's like, wow, wow, woo.
and story by credit. You know,
Yeah.
like this was when he was working on like his Tech World or Tech War.
Tech War,
yes,
yeah.
Tech War novels
And the
I'm a storyteller.
he's like, gather Spock. Like the
I was watching like all of these in a row not too long ago, and I just kept saying Spock.
I do. Like I was watching the Picard ones.
Okay, yeah.
Because I hadn't seen like some like Nemesis.
Yeah, I was working my way towards. I got as far as like Star Trek 6 in my rewatch, and then I didn't. Like I didn't get into like I was planning on it. It just kind of petered out, you know, just for one reason or another.
That's what I did too. But when I had I went on a Star Trek run before, and I went up to 6 and stopped too.
Yeah.
It's like a good stopping
It
point.
is, yeah. It's William Shatner's baby, and like it's kind of like, like the 5, like the V. That's kind of perfect, you know. And I'm surprised they didn't do this for the campaign.
Sick.
Have like posters of Star Trek, like that. I guess they could do it for like Star Trek 6. They could do that,
Star Trek,
but like the V is just kind of perfect. They didn't take full advantage of it, I think. And then the Final Frontier is like a great title too,
so good
because it's like. This should be the ultimate Star Trek movie.
Hell
just with
yeah.
that. So Star Trek V with the Final Frontier.
Dude, the poster for this might be my favorite poster of the whole all the movies. Yeah. It looks great. It has Kirk and Spock's head like off to the side of the V, and like the horseman on the bottom. It's just a great looking poster.
Because like William Shatner is steering the ship. It's like incredibly pretentious. It's got all this like heavy like biblical allegory and all this kind of stuff, and they have sort of like a false prophet, this Messiah character.
They said that Shatner got the idea from watching like Tammy Faye Baker and the what's her husband's name?
Yeah, Jim Baker.
Jim Baker, and was like these charlatans. We need to have a character like.
Yeah, like and then Captain Kirk fights God.
Yeah.
And wins.
He beats
Only in the mind of William Shatner does he fight God and win. Great looking effects. Like that space station looks like $1 million.
Yeah, they're working on such a small budget. Like they took the budget got gutted, and I think they do a lot with what they got.
Yes, they do. Yeah, like there's a lot of desert stuff. There's a lot. It's these like a Western or like like a Lawrence of Arabia, trying for like a sort of desert setting.
Spock, he's like, I want to get a Lawrence of Arabia. Then you got Uhura.
I want to make a movie that makes Lawrence of Arabia look
like dog shit. He's like, David Lean, eat your heart out. Uhura does her fan dance in Silhouette later. Like her sexy fan dance. She does.
Now this is, and Shatner's writing this. He's like, how best can I humiliate my co-stars who always, talk shit about me, talk about what a jerk I am.
She's like, she reads out the script. She's like, I want to fucking do this. It's time for your.
It's one of those things where like she refuses to film it, so they get like a body double,
Spock does the Vulcan neck pinch to a horse in this one too. If I remember correctly. This movie has a
it's good. Like I don't have like again there's some points where it like drags a little here and there, but like what Star Trek movie doesn't have it?
And and when I was watching like them in order too, I gotta say I pop the hardest for when. Like the alien that they think is God is like talking, and he goes, when Kirk does his, excuse me, when he like interjects,
he's like raising his hand.
Yeah, he's like, one more thing,
Mr. Carter.
Yeah, I was like, Kirk. He's like, well, what would God need with the starship?
Yeah, like let's talk about that. That's like an ongoing theme in Star Trek. Like they say, there's like 2 plots in Star Trek, and I forget what the other one's maybe like you go back you have to go back in time to change something. That's one plot, and then the other plot in Star Trek is the Enterprise meets God, but it turns out to be a powerful enfant terrible. It turns out to be like a powerful baby alien or something. Now in this one they fight God, and again I think this is like Shatner's ego. It's like who could possibly stand up to me? I know God, and
Kirk
and wipes the floor with them. And then they're like, oh, you know what?
Steering the ship.
You know what, Bill? We got to add a line to this because we can't have you actually kill God.
Yeah.
So we got to add a line where you say, oh, turns out he was just pretending. He's not really God.
Yeah.
And so Shatner does the bare minimum. Because, usually in these kind of episodes of Star Trek, they fight God or what seems to be God or a God, and then it gets destroyed, and then maybe you see some, circuits of, the machinery that was making the projection or this fake, But, there's nothing. They just, obliterate him and then say, oh, I guess he wasn't God. Because if he wasn't God... he wouldn't have been such a pushover or something. But there's never a smoking gun or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking Shatner really wanted to make a movie where he kills God. And so there's never any. There's just sort of supposition that hey, maybe that wasn't God. But I think in Shatner's mind, I'd love when we have him on the show, we'll have to ask him
Bill,
you really wanted to make a movie where you went head to head with God
and won.
And you did it, and you just gave lip service to it not really being God,
You're in church, you're like, excuse the priest, you're like, what would God want with the Star Trek?
This will be our Easter episode.
He is risen in Shatner. It's he is risen.
And every one of these movies, it's okay, they're way too old to be doing Star Trek: The Motion Picture was oh yeah, we're getting a little a little long in the tooth to be doing this. And then Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan, he gets bifocals, and it's we are way too old to be doing this. And then it's 3, it's how many times? And then 5, it's okay, we're definitely too old to be doing this. And then we get 2 more after that.
In this one too, they're even they're like, yeah, we love they're spry. They're not even. They're right. This is what we do on the weekend.
Yeah, Star Trek 2, when they were 10 years younger than this, they're saying oh, I'm out to pasture, and then this one, it's this is the midlife crisis where they're taking human growth hormones and acting it's all nothing. Climbing. How is he climbing up that mountain?
He's
with no.
And then when he was climbing that mountain, that was clearly a body double, but Shatner had the camera placed right under his ass to show up his muscle buttons, and he's the audience is gonna think this is my butt.
Now this campfire scene goes on really long too. So when you're talking about a gutted budget and stretching it.
Their row 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 your boat song is one of the points that people keep saying is ridiculous.
I remember watching the Regis and Kathy Lee, and William Shatner was a guest on, and you could tell that Regis and Shatner had a relationship. They had a friendship because they were ribbing each other and stuff. And then they're watching a clip of the movie, and it's Shatner saying, "My chair. I miss my old chair. Where's my old chair?" And Regis was letting them have it with that. It's what kind of movie is this? I'm expecting action, adventure, and you're some old guy complaining about his chair. Complaining about his lazy boy.
I was making a point to go back and watch some of these actors' appearances on the shows. Him and Regis, they get their toupees intertwined like a Brillo head together.
You numbskull.
They both pull away.
It's just hovering in the air. The two of them together.
He's you knucklehead. Their toupees become meshed together. Look at these guys, young. They're a bunch of spring chickens.
Well, yeah, so there's 2 more movies after this, and then Leonard Nimoy is going to show up in the J.J. Abrams one, 20 years after this, and still look pretty much the same.
Yeah, it looks great.
And of course, just like with this, where it's like William Shatner, when's it my turn to direct one? With J.J. Abrams one, he's like, how come Leonard's in that one, but you don't have the main guy? You need me. And I remember J.J. Abrams saying how he had like lunch with William Shatner to like explain it to him, and William Shatner's like, I don't get it. He's like, well, you know, the world saw you die on camera, you know.
I like how he even had to go to lunch with him to like...
Right. Talk him off the ledge.
I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that conversation. Another classic Total Recall. Hit John.
Yeah, cause, I mean, we gotta say, we love Shatner.
We love him so much.
This whole thing of like making fun of William Shatner is out of love. Great looking Klingon bird of prey.
Oh hell yeah!
And I saw like that satellite, which I'm assuming was Voyager or something. It had that like drawing that like Carl Sagan.
Yeah,
came
that
up with.
was it.
Is that Voyager?
That was that.
So this is like I guess like a reference to the Voyager, like maybe a little wink. Although I'm not sure I get it.
Yeah, they're like
if that is Voyager.
At some point I remember like this guy's like one of the guys from Pumping Iron is a Klingon. Right? He's just like a buff like weightlifter.
Well, this like, that periscope looks like weightlifting equipment. You know, he looks like he's gonna go.
He's like cool special effects. Yeah. I'm here for these.
Looks like maybe there is some early CGI. I don't know. Like there's a couple of the shots of like the spaceship firing and stuff that look a little bit. I mean, CGI did exist at this. You know, we had like the last Starfighter and stuff. It's just
they were trying to save money. I don't know if it's true or not. They were like for the
they were using footage from the Star Trek Atari video game.
They intersplice it.
Well, because it's like battle. Okay, so this is like the same year as Batman and Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And like those movies, as far as I could tell, didn't have any CGI in them. So it's kind of,
Summer of '89.
Interesting question. Batman Returns had CGI in it. For like the shell section.
Oh yes. I forget about that.
So it is like we're right at
on
that
cusp.
on that cusp.
And Scotty's like kind of like a goofball, and he really amps up the comedy and stuff.
Well, like Shatner definitely had a vision for Star Trek in general, and he pushed for a lot of things in the series, even in the other movies and in the show. He would push for things, and he had a vision of what Star Trek should be, and so here's his chance to kind of do that. So you can kind of tell, okay, these are the things, these are the directions he would like to push it, and obviously, again, continuing the focus on him, DeForest Kelley, and Leonard Nimoy
trio,
but still wanting like a larger ensemble and like and having enough for the ensemble to do, and because I know one of the disagreements he would have with George Takei is that George Takei wanted to go off to another ship and be like the captain of a different ship, and Shatner didn't want that, and Takei felt like he was that he didn't want to be an equal to him, but Shatner's like, no, like the action is here on the Enterprise, like you want to be part of this ensemble, and so you know what I mean, like
the Excelsior.
Yeah, because this is not in this movie. Sulu does not become a captain of anything yet.
I love the villain Cybok.
Mm-hmm. It is like it's too many like Spock-esque names, because you have like Spock's dad, you have Spock's grandfather, like there's Savick, there's Spock, Savick, and then there might even be a Sarek, and then there's Cybok. So it's like, it's like, okay, which one? Like, is there one name on Vulcan? and Cybok is he's a Vulcan, right? Or is he a Romulan? I don't know.
He's a Vulcan. He's
Spock's
half brother or full brother.
Okay, yeah,
brother.
Right.
He's like his brother, and the role was, I think, originally written for Sean Connery.
Nice. Yeah.
But I think they like
Battle of the Toupees.
They're like, why don't you put your heads together and make an accent? I don't think I love the guy. I can't remember his name. He's the son of he's married to Lucy and Desi's daughter in real life. So he's like the son-in-law.
Did you see her hair? Shatner's like, let's bring back the beehive. Remember, Yeoman Rand had a beehive. Let's bring that back. So it's like it's like a twist on the bee. It's not quite.
This is my chair.
It's a new twist on the beehive. What happened to my chair?
He picks his toupee up and puts it on. It's like right beside him. And the place he keeps talking. Go climb a rock. I'm gonna wear.
I'm surprised he's not wearing like a nude rock climbing shirt. Feel the wind on your cheeks.
Co-ed rock climbing.
Yeah, right.
Co-ed naked.
Co-ed naked rock climbing. That's the one. Yeah.
He's wearing a Big Johnson T-shirt. I remember, like, in middle school, our principal, we were in the auditorium, and he got up on stage. He's like, "I don't want to see any co-ed naked shirts or any Big Johnson shirts." And I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know those existed. He turned it and
pointed them out to you. Everybody showed up in one.
He's like, "I don't want to see any Big Johnsons." Like, what the fuck?
What's on this guy's mind? Man, Shatner's. Helmet.
That is fucking helmet, Tom.
That's Gary Glitter. That's like this big poofy. That's like a Tony Curtis big poofy pompadour with like a little thing in the middle.
Ric Flair says, "My shoes cost more than your house." Shatner's toupee. He uses that rib. He's like, "My toupee costs more than your house." That's like $100,000.
DeForest Kelly's jacket is like, that's vintage right there.
He looks where is like Don Knotts?
It's like Don Knotts wearing like a +90s jacket. And then Scotty has his like Han Solo outfit on.
It's a 1-to-1. He's got the boots on and the blasters. Like,
my chair.
He's
like, my chair.
I have all these water bottles because I'm free rock climbing. Look at Spock. He's got a Patagonia jacket. These guys are all like out.
DeForest Kelly's like, I just got back from the United Colors of Benetton.
Shatner, that helmet hair is you could deflect a bullet with that toupee. And yes, there's a nod. Apparently, there could be a nod to Sean Connery. He keeps talking about Shockery.
Okay, Shockery.
Sean Connery.
Yeah. There's also like another thing I wanted to bring up. There was an anime movie that came out a couple years before this called Odin Starlight Photon something. It was like this, this kind of space opera kind of thing, and it was like the villain in it was like this glowing head of like a god that would kind of like show up and like destroy spaceships and things. But it was Odin. It was supposed to be like the head of Odin, from like Norse mythology, as opposed to this god who's supposed to be, the god of the Old Testament or the New Testament, or the god of the Bible or whatever.
I have to check that one out.
It's still like that sequence. It was when I was a kid and I saw this, that sequence with like God in this. I was like, whoa, this is heavy stuff. Yes. Like when he's got different faces and it's like, oh, every culture views him, differently as their god and stuff. I'm like, whoa.
It still blows my mind. You know what is so effective for me in a movie? I don't know. It's just a weird thing when I see it. It was in Masters of the Universe 2. Anytime there's like a big video screen or big screen and there's somebody like standing in front of it, like Skeletor was, or when He-Man was standing in front of like Skeletor's big head.
Yeah, right.
Like
a hologram.
Hologram. It just gets me like anytime you see that in a flick. Every man has a secret pain.
Love the Star Trek pants. Those like super flared bell bottom, because it is Navy. I mean there's the big boat steering wheel, and so they got those flared out bell bottom.
They have a Navy seaman's cut.
I like when I was a kid, like when I was getting to be like teenage years and stuff, like if I needed to like get dressed up or something, like my dad would be like, oh, here, wear this. He'd like give me like some of his clothes or something to wear, and it's like My dad, like as a teen, like when I was like 12, I was like a head taller than my dad, you know, this like little Italian guy. And so I was like dressed up and I had a pair of pants that ended up looking like that, like classic flood pants. And I remember my friend saying like, those are Star Trek pants. Like, what are you doing wearing Star Trek pants? It was like a pair of black dress pants that like were a perfect fit for my dad, but were like wider and shorter on me.
I'm gonna start wearing Star Trek pants. Getting like clothes from like your dad or your grandparents, because like no one still had my cousin Greg's suits. And there was one from the 70s. I gotta show you this picture. When I got my first Holy Communion, I wore this suit.
You look great. You look great, Maddie.
We called it the turd suit. They loved it. It was my cousin Kevin and Mark and Greg had these. It was a brown suit and a powder blue suit.
Yeah.
And I wore the
mix and match. That was the thing they'd say about those like disco suits. Was like you could mix and match.
And like when I got my picture for my first Holy Communion, all the kids had like, you know, just whatever.
Yeah, what was of the moment. Yeah.
And then me is wearing a 70s brown suit with a huge
the Cotter tie. You're wearing Mr. Cotter's
Dude,
suit.
I'm gonna find this
Cotter
picture.
Jr. It was the Cotter Jr. line.
It was different shades of
Kaplan's for him. It was boys
Kaplan's for kids.
Kaplan's for kids. It was Mr. Cotter's suit. But you know what? I'll bet if you looked at that picture, I'll bet your suit is like a classic now, where like the other kids might be dated.
Yeah.
You know? But like, yeah, like, because when you were a kid, like, I remember it's like you were so tuned in to like what was like out of style, and so something that was like maybe a year or two out of style, that's invisible to your parents. They can't tell. So it's like you're wearing something that's like so, you know.
Oh, I in the moment, like, I thought I was like the first time I was wearing a suit.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Then I'm looking back, I'm like, hey, that's you can spot that from space.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That tie, you could land I'm gonna find a picture of it.
Star Trek: The Next Generation. Yeah, see, that's CGI there. That's spaceship zooming by. And stuff.
Cool.
So,
Look at this shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like the cantina. You know.
We get a whole cantina. He's like, Spock, I need to have my. Or he's like, I'm gonna have my Tatooine.
And he's kind of like the character that's in like the Sandman series, where it's like there's like the guy who comes in and like plays mind games with everybody. You know, he's kind of like it's like a Stephen King stock character where he comes in and then he like hones right in on whatever your like deepest fear is, or your most like your deepest secret, your most horrifying moment, and then like makes you like relive it, and you're like, you know. So he does that.
They become like his acolytes.
Yeah, and then right, yeah, he like breaks you, and then you become one of him. The other thing that like stuck out to me was like when he's doing that with DeForest Kelley, with Bones McCoy, and he's making him feel guilty for like pulling the plug on his dad like a week before they invented a cure for like the deadly illness that he had, and that was sticking with me too. Like, yeah, you just never know.
No.
You don't know. And the other thing it kind of planted in my head that I carried for years was I thought like, yeah, in the future, maybe in the future, you know, they'll come up with like cures for everything, and maybe in the future, maybe like by the time I'm a grown up, they'll come up with like a cure for death. Like maybe they'll come up with something that like will let you like, you know, live forever and not die. And so that was kind of like fueling me for a while of like, yeah, everything's gonna be okay. Like not having to confront the idea of the inevitability of death with this idea that like in some kind of Star Trek future that I'm gonna live long enough to see, they're gonna come up with this cure for everything.
That I thought whenever he euthanized his father, I thought it was like was joking because like you mentioned a week. I thought when he pulls the plug, somebody comes in the door and they're like, "I've got a cure."
Yeah, right.
Like, we found it. We found the cure.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, it was a little on the nose. It was, and you know what? This fan dancing scene, that is totally a body double. And, Michelle Nichols was like, "Hell no!"
no.
She's like, "Fuck no." That's
this
a
came
body
out of
double.
nowhere. Shatner's like, She's like, you want me to do what again?
Yeah.
He's like, this is perfectly in line with your character, right? The show.
There is the one close-up shot of her with the fan, but up until that point, like all the gyrating and stuff, that was somebody else. She's like, okay, I'll hold these. And I'll say my line, but I'll be damned if I gyrate.
Shatner's like, more movement.
More pelvic thrusting.
He's got the megaphone. Shatner's got a beret on.
Yeah. And spats. And a monocle.
He's got the desert, like the Bill Bixby outfit, like the khaki jacket with the belt.
When they show up at this cantina and it's got like the flashing lights and stuff, it's making me like really want to see that like Tarantino Star Trek movie, you know, because it's like I'm thinking of like because it's kind of like the Dusk Till Dawn. It's the titty twister. Like I want to see the Dusk Till Dawn cantina of space, sort of Star Trek. I want to see,
yeah. There would be some great Tarantino dialogue in there.
And I mean, he figured out his get out of jail free card for doing like, an extra movie would be, if he does like something for TV, it's it doesn't count. It has to be a theatrical release. So he could totally do like a streaming, Star Trek. Right. He could do a bunch of streaming Star Treks. Oh, I got my Video Archives shirt on.
Quinn, are you?
Yeah, we know you're a huge fan of the show. This is Shatner's vanity project. So
it really
he
is.
gets to do a lot of action.
I fucking love this.
Yeah, this
movie.
is fun. Like this is what you're looking for from a Star Trek movie.
I had a blast watching it.
And a lot of the sort of cheesiness and the bad effects and things are just so the last time I saw somebody Vulcan nerve pinch a horse, it was like like Conan when he punched a camel in
You're getting horseback riding lessons, and they're like, "What are you doing, sir?" You're like, "I'm attempting to Vulcan nerve pinch this."
And Shatner's in charge of the hair across the movie, so he's like, everybody gets a spit curl. Even Spock has like a little spit curl.
He's double dipping. He's billed in the credits as like toupee consult or like hair control.
Oh yes, and then he gets attacked by a cat woman. Wow.
He's like,
no, this is giving you what you want out of Star Trek. Like, how is this more cheesy than like any other Star Trek movie?
We're huge fans on the Total Recall show of Star Trek 5.
Yeah, we're fans of the odd numbered
Star
Treks.
So
yeah, I mean, because I was watching them and it's all good.
I think he did a one-liner there. I can't remember. He's like in the movie. He's like, she just used her 9 lives, Spock, or something. Right. I can't remember that guy's name.
Yeah, Dillinger from Tron.
And there he is, Sabak. He's like, everyone's his. Look at the makeup. I love these like Ugnaught looking creep. Mm-hmm. He's like the band's back together.
And you're right. If they like gut the special effects budget, because like Shatner got like pilloried for this movie. They're like, oh yeah, you fucked up. But it's like if they're gutting the special effects budget, then yeah, of course, like some of the shots are gonna look a little cheap. And so, it's interesting how like with like the Star Trek movies, like they never quite get their footing because it's like they kind of maybe have like a miss, mm-hmm. and then it's like they kind of rally and then make Wrath of Khan this like amazing movie on again like a shoestring budget, and then they kind of it laps again, and then they kind of pull it together and ultra shoestring for Star Trek 4 and make like one of the finest entries in the series with that. So it is interesting. Like you can't catch a break. Like on or off camera, like the Enterprise crew just can't catch a break.
We got to do our Total Recall Star Trek. Star Trek. I don't even know. I can't remember what they're on because they had.
You have the Kelvin verse. The JJ verse.
Yeah.
The JJ ones. It's interesting. Like,
is there 2 of those?
There's 3. JJ directed 2, and then there was a 3rd one.
Oh yeah.
With a different director, but it was like the same storyline. Continuing that storyline, and then that was it. And they were all good. I liked all 3 of them.
There's something about like a deserty sci-fi that just like.
Yeah, I mean because it like space opera, grows directly out of the Western. It's like the Western in space or whatever. So like the desert, yeah, is perfect. This is the first Star Trek movie we've reviewed. I think this was like the perfect Total Recall choice to like start with. But
Part 5.
We'll make our way through the rest of the series. Great looking Enterprise.
Yeah.
Across the whole series, the Enterprise always looks like
$1 million bucks. There's the Atari game.
Yeah,
you're talking
right.
about.
Yeah, I loved that Atari game.
He's like Scotty. No time for for games.
Look at. I wonder if they have some like leftover shots of like the Klingon spaceships and the Enterprise, you know, and the space station too, because again, you don't see the lack of budget in those shots. They look amazing. So
I read that like because I can't remember when the
because they've covered that ground so many times in the previous movies.
Oh, that looks
that
so
looks like
good.
That could have been a shot from part one. Yeah.
They were shooting some of the Enterprise interiors on the Next Generation sets.
Mm-hmm.
They were like doing those simultaneously. I can't remember when that started, but there might have been a crossover.
Around the time that, I think when they were doing The Undiscovered Country, the one after this, they had a Star Trek exhibit at the Smithsonian, and I went there.
That's awesome.
Like a class trip, and it was awesome. And yeah, they had the sets, and you could like stand in the transporter, and you could see like the Enterprise models and stuff like that, and I bought in the gift shop. I bought like a little die-cast Enterprise.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What if,
with the lunch money that my parents sent me with,
That's a classic move.
Right.
You scrimp, and then I'm like, I'm not gonna get a pretzel. I'm like, I'm gonna buy this wizard or whatever.
Yeah.
His toupee is in the Smithsonian.
And with the tribbles. That's how they did the effect for the tribbles. It was actually like that scene where he opens it up and they all fall on him. That's actually Shatner's toupee closet. That they open.
It's Trouble with Kirkles. He opens it and it's all these toupees. They're like they keep his toupees keep multiplying.
So yeah, I'm Tom Scioli, author of I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. And May 6th, Saturday, May 6th is Free Comic Book Day, and they're going to be offering a Free Comic Book Day edition of I Am Stan. It's a comic book-sized excerpt of the story. So tell your comic book retailer to reserve a copy for you. Free Comic Book Day is their busiest day of the year, so make sure you tell them ahead of time so they'll have one for you.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli or on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
Follow me on Instagram at cinema_2.
And please support my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli, and if you join up, you'll have access to the full archive of comics and artwork that I've posted there, as well as new things as I post them.
Follow the show on Instagram at total_recall_show.
And yeah, we'll see you next time. Yeah, for Star Trek 5. We'll see you next time for Star Trek 6.
Star Trek.
Star Trek 3. The Voyage Home.
They're like somebody's like Star Trek 1 or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah.